Mercedes has brought at least one improvement to the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, with a new winglet arrangement visible on the side of the W13. After running 2 winglets in this area in Bahrain, Saudi Arabia and Australia, an additional winglet is now visible for the Imola event. Technical analyst Paolo Filisetti describes it this way: the front winglet is placed a little higher on the W13 as of today. Together with the lower 2 wings, a kind of tunnel is created with which airflows can be guided downwards. In this way, they are trying to hold the air currents that attach to the bodywork, as it were, and try to prevent air currents from letting go of the bodywork and leaking to the bottom of the car. So why does Mercedes want to keep that leaking from happening? According to Paolo, because this can create pressure differences under the floor, which can exacerbate the porpoising or reduce the amount of downforce generated. However, Filisetti stressed that this is only a minor change. It's not a big update. These winglets can only improve the way the airflow reaches the side pod inlets. The new wings mean that this airflow is no longer disturbed by vortexes generated by the lower airflows. In this way, the airflow is directed downwards in a more efficient manner. Mercedes arrives at Imola after finishing first as a constructor in the Australian Grand Prix, with George Russell and Lewis Hamilton finishing 3rd and 4th respectively. However, the team's motorsport strategy director James Vowles admitted that Imola would be challenging for the Silver Arrows due to the limited practice time available on the sprint weekend to tinker with their W13. Imola is going to be a challenging event. It is our first sprint race of the season, so unlike previous events where we had an FP1, FP2 and FP3 really to get to grips with the car and test how we are going to improve the car performance, we now just have one free practice session, and that free practice session dominates what happens in qualifying and in the race, so it is very limited in terms of what we can learn and what we can do. When we get back to the European season, teams would generally bring more performance upgrades, and I suspect you will see an evolution of our competitors, and we need to make sure we, at the very minimum, keep up with that. Mercedes boss Toto Wolff has flatly denied that Lewis Hamilton and George Russell will be able to match the pace of Ferrari and Red Bull this weekend at Imola. The Austrian team principal has reiterated that while Mercedes is working hard to close the gap, they are unlikely to challenge for the race win in the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix on Sunday. We know we haven't got the pace of the Ferrari and Red Bull right now, but we're working hard to reduce their advantage, and it's been brilliant to see everyone across the factories pulling together to achieve this. There's been a lot of hard work over the Easter weekend in the factory to bring improvements to the car and get it ready to head to the next race, and that shows the team's dedication to turning the situation around. Of course, we must be realistic. It'll take time to make the gains we want, but we're learning as much as we can from each race and finding avenues to push forward. With Mercedes likely still on the back foot, the drivers will need to stay focused and avoid distractions if they are to perform well. But at least for Lewis Hamilton, that may not be possible. According to an exclusive report on Sky on Thursday, the 7-time champion has joined tennis superstar Serena Williams in committing large sums of money to a consortium bidding to buy Chelsea. Martin Brufton, the former chairman of Liverpool Football Club and British Airways, is spearheading the plans. According to Sky, Hamilton and Williams have discussed the plans with Brufton's group, and the pair may be willing to invest around £10 million each in the bid. It was also suggested that if the deal went through, Hamilton would play a formal role in Chelsea's future efforts to promote diversity, equity and inclusion, rather than being a silent partner. Brufton's bid is not the only one vying to take over as Chelsea's new owners from Roman Abramovich, with a number of international parties also showing interest. Brufton's consortium, a group led by part owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers Todd Boehly and one from Stephen Pagliuca, co-owner of the NBA's Boston Celtics and Series A side Atlanta, are the 3 final bidders. If a takeover is successful, all interested parties must provide a guarantee of £1 billion in investment in the club's infrastructure, academy and women's team. The Rain Group, a US bank, is handling the sale, and the preferred candidate is expected to be chosen later this month. Chelsea is being sold for as much as £2.5 billion after former owner Roman Abramovich was sanctioned in the aftermath of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. With the club's assets at risk of seizure, Abramovich decided to sell it. He purchased the club in 2003 for around £150 million. Because of the sanctions implications, any takeover of Chelsea will require approval from the UK government, which will have to issue the club with a new operating license. Hamilton did not respond immediately, but he will almost certainly be questioned about the report ahead of this weekend's Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. With only one practice session before qualifying in Imola and both drivers needing to be on top of their game to help find a good setup, Mercedes won't be happy that their most valuable asset might be preoccupied with other things. However, Mercedes may be in luck as title rivals Red Bull will take a significant risk by putting a set of upgrades on their car despite the reduced practice time, according to Helmut Marko. The Austrian team has had a rocky start to the new F1 season due to their lack of reliability, with Max Verstappen forced to retire twice in Bahrain and Australia due to no fault of his own. The Dutchman will be hoping for a better showing at Imola, which will host the first sprint race of the new season, to save his Drivers' Championship title hopes. The revised schedule means that qualifying will take place on Friday before a short race on Saturday determines the grid order for Sunday's race, giving Red Bull only an hour of practice before the competitive action begins. Ferrari has such a complex package that it's easy to coordinate. Everything has to be right so that we can counteract it. That's exactly why we take this risk of bringing new parts with just one practice session. We want to attack fully and see it as our chance instead of just waiting. Ferrari and Leclerc are too strong for that. Marko went on to say that Red Bull's upgrades are aimed at reducing weight in order to close the gap on Ferrari, who have dominated the race since the start of the new season. That doesn't happen overnight. It's a lengthy process because we're a lot overweight, at least significantly more than Ferrari. If we get close to Barcelona, if we get to Ferrari's level, we're actually quite satisfied. Due to the German team's distinct lack of pace in the first 3 Grand Prix of the new season, it appears likely that Red Bull will remain faster than Mercedes when F1 returns to Imola. But Marko isn't ready to write off the Silver Arrows just yet, and believes that things will start to fall into place for them in the not-too-distant future. At the moment, they are 1 second behind in qualifying, half a second behind in the race, and not a direct opponent for us. But that can change relatively quickly. They will certainly have a say in the World Championship. Furthermore, the risky nature of Red Bull's planned upgrades may play into Mercedes' hands, and we could see a repeat of Melbourne with another tragedy for the Austrian team. However, Mercedes remains realistic, and Toto Wolff has been keen to keep expectations in check, admitting that their chances this season aren't great. If I look at it from a mathematical standpoint and probability, I'd probably say that the odds are 20 to 80. But this is motor racing, and in motor racing, anything can happen. Teams can DNF, and if we unlock the potential of the car, we are right back in the game. So as a motor racer, I'd maybe say 40 to 60. As a mathematician, the odds are worst against us. We are not going to write the title off, but it's just the current status quo. We are 0.9 seconds off. In the same interview, Wolff hinted that the team would not be focusing on immediate upgrades to their car, which has violent porpoising issues and struggles through high-speed corners when compared to their competitors. Nothing we did in Melbourne unlocked the aerodynamic potential or reduced the bouncing. We're still in the same place. That's why it doesn't make any sense to bring updates, because you're confusing yourself even more. Maybe the more updates, the worse the bouncing gets. We are still learning. Is curing the bouncing the miraculous unlocking of a second? For sure, no. But there are many other improvements we can make along the way. I'm optimistic that eventually we're going to get there, whether that's 2 races or 5. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, please consider liking, subscribing, and clicking the bell button to be notified of future uploads. What are your thoughts on Mercedes' upgrades to Imola? Is it just a small step, or will they notice a significant improvement? Red Bull is taking a chance with their new package. Do you think the gamble will pay off? Please share your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll see you later on F1 Zone.